Hey guys, it's Sam here from Sugar Spun Run, and today I'll be showing you how to make creme brulee. I know creme brulee sounds fancy, but I think you're going to be surprised by how easy it really is to make in your own kitchen. You only need a handful of ingredients you probably already have in your pantry, so let's get started. The first thing you'll want to do is you're going to need a medium or small saucepan. You're going to set this on your stove. You're going to need 2 full cups of heavy whipping cream for this recipe, but we're going to start by just pouring 1.5 cups into our saucepan. Set the remaining ½ cup of cream aside. We are going to need that in just a little bit, and we're also going to add 1/3 cup of granulated sugar in with our cream. Now we are going to add 1 vanilla bean. This is going to give your creme brulee such a good flavor. As you might be able to see, I've gone ahead and I've split this lengthwise. So what we'll do is we'll use a spoon just to scrape out as much of the insides of the bean as we can and drop that into your saucepan. And then we are also going to just break this vanilla bean pod in half and we'll drop that in as well. The last thing we'll add to this heavy cream mixture is just an 1/8 teaspoon of finely ground sea salt. So turn your stovetop to medium heat and we are going to stir these together. You're going to want to stir this mixture pretty frequently until it comes to a boil. You don't want that sugar to burn to the bottom. You want it to be dissolved into the cream mixture. So this cream is going to need to sit for about 15 minutes before we can proceed with it any further. This is going to give it some time to cool down, and it's also going to let that cream really absorb all of that vanilla bean flavor. So while this sits, there are a few other things we can prep. First of all, make sure your oven is preheated to 300 degrees Fahrenheit. Another thing we can do is I like to prep my ramekins while we're waiting. So this is going to make about 6 creme brulees, this recipe will. I like to use shallow ramekins. Creme brulee is best served in a shallow ramekin, and these are about 5 inches in diameter and they're just over a ½ inch deep. I will leave the link in the description if you wanted to get these exact ramekins, but you don't have to use the same ones. Now, creme brulee really needs to be baked in a water bath, and when you're using such a shallow dish like this, you can imagine it's hard to add water to the pan we're baking this in without splashing it into our creme brulee. So what I'm going to do to protect the creme brulee from our water bath is we're going to line each of these ramekins with foil. You'll need a square piece of foil and we're just going to wrap this around the outside of each ramekin. Once you've wrapped your ramekin, you're going to want to place all of them in a large roasting pan. Now, if you don't have a large roasting pan, you can use 2 9x13 pans or casserole pans instead. The important thing is that the pan that you place this in is deep enough to hold a little bit of water, because remember, we do need that water bath. Once our ramekins are prepped and our oven is preheated, and about 15 minutes has passed since you pulled that cream mixture off the stovetop, we are about ready to continue. So the next ingredient you're going to need is actually 6 large egg yolks. Now you want these to be room temperature. You'll want to put these in a medium or large size bowl, and we're just going to use a whisk to scramble them until they are well beaten. You're going to want to remove that vanilla bean from the cream mixture. I'm just going to use a fork to pull this out. We can discard this now. And remember that ½ cup of heavy cream that we saved from the beginning? We are now going to pour that into our warm cream mixture. And make sure you stir that really well. Our cream mixture might still be pretty warm at this point, and we really want to avoid cooking our eggs when we add this cream to our egg yolk mixture, so we're going to do it really gradually. I like to use a measuring cup. This is actually a 1/3 cup size measuring cup, and I'm just going to fill this measuring cup up, and I'm going to pour this slowly into the egg yolk mixture while I'm whisking. As you can see, I'm just drizzling a little bit of the mixture at a time. I'll repeat this with another 1/3 cup. Now it'll be safe to add the rest of our cream mixture, so you're going to want to do this the same way, just add it in a slow, steady stream while continuously whisking your egg mixture. That's all there is to making your creme brulee mixture, but there is still one more step I like to do. What I recommend is taking a large strainer and placing that in a new separate clean medium-sized bowl or a large pitcher if you have one. That'll make things even easier. And we're just going to strain this mixture through the strainer. Now, the reason I like to do this is because if any little pieces of egg did cook when you added your cream, or if there was any skin that formed on the heavy cream while it was sitting, this is going to strain that out so you have a completely smooth creme brulee. Once you've strained your creme brulee, now we can go ahead and portion this into our prepared ramekins. Now you can pour this directly into each ramekin. I'm actually going to use a ladle just because it's going to be a little neater for me, but you know how I mentioned earlier you could strain this into a pitcher? That would be really easy for pouring into your ramekins. So I'm just going to divide this evenly, filling each ramekin just about to the top. Now we'll add the water for our water bath. You are going to want to use either very hot or boiling water. My tap produces really hot water, so that's what I'm using today. And we're just going to pour this into our roasting pan, taking care not to splash any into the creme brulee. I usually need about 4 or 5 cups of hot water to fill my water bath when I'm using this roasting pan. You don't want to fill the roasting pan to the brim. The goal is that you have the water level high enough so that it's about 2/3 of the height of your ramekin. So this is less than ½ an inch of water in the whole water bath. Once you've added your water bath, we'll want to transfer our creme brulees very carefully to our 300°F preheated oven. These will need to bake for about 25 to 35 minutes. Now the center is still going to be very loose looking, very jello-y looking, but I like to use an instant read thermometer to tell that it's done. What you want is the center to read 170 to 175°F. Now make sure when you're using your thermometer, you're not putting it all the way into the bottom of the ramekin. You're holding it about halfway between the top and the bottom. Now the tops will be somewhat set after they finish baking. They're not going to be totally firm. They'll still look a little jiggly in the center. That's fine. And once you've removed them from the oven, you're going to want to take them out of this water bath pretty much right away. Now the good thing about all this foil we used is it's going to be really easy to just carefully lift up each ramekin and move it over to a cooling rack. We'll let these ramekins cool on the cooling rack for about 20 to 30 minutes, and then we'll transfer them to the refrigerator where they will need to set for about 4 hours. So once your creme brulees have had enough time to set in the fridge, they are ready to serve, but of course you are going to need to brulee them. So this is actually really easy, but you are going to need a culinary torch. I'll link to the one that I use in the description below. Now, actually bruleeing these is pretty simple. What you're going to do is you're just going to dust them with about a teaspoon or so of regular granulated sugar. You can use turbinado sugar instead if you prefer that. It's going to give you a thicker, browner, more caramelized tasting crust on top if you use turbinado. Okay, that might have been more than a teaspoon of sugar, but what can I say? I like to have a nice layer of bruleed sugar on top of my creme brulees. So once you added your sugar, now you are going to need your culinary torch, and you are just going to gently heat the sugar. And you want to keep this torch moving the whole time, that way you don't end up burning any part of the creme brulee. And you'll quickly see the sugar is starting to melt. You're going to want to keep doing that until it turns a nice caramel color. And as you can see, I'm holding the torch a couple inches away from the top of the creme brulee. You'll want to let that sit for just a couple of seconds, maybe a minute or two, to let the ramekin cool down if maybe it got warm from the heat, and then you are ready to serve. Creme brulees taste great topped off with fruit, but they also are wonderful on their own. So making creme brulee in your own kitchen is as easy as that. I really hope you guys enjoyed today's recipe. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Hey, if you guys enjoyed today's creme brulee video, I would love it if you would give this video a thumbs up, and please hit that notification bell and make sure to subscribe. Also, if you enjoyed this video, here's a few others you might like as well.